Over the last several years, across every single aspect of their business, from the movie theaters to streaming to the theme parks, Disney has been failing, and almost everyone has been able to recognize that. When you combine bad business practices with the desire to push identity politics at each and every opportunity, you're going to lose a big part of your fan base, and that's what we've seen happen with Disney. And when you have failure after failure, there's going to be a lot of people, whether they're investors, whether they're other business people, that want to see change happen. And that's exactly what's going on with Disney right now. Earlier in the year, we heard word that one of the biggest activist investors out there, Nelson Peltz, was interested in coming in and making changes to Disney. He didn't think that Bob Iger was going to be able to turn things around after he came out of his retirement. He argued against it, but then inevitably, when Bob Iger said, we're making these big sweeping changes, we're going to restructure things, and their stock actually saw a bounce back, Nelson Peltz says, okay, I guess we're good. Looks like Disney might be in good hands. We'll see how these changes go. Well, unfortunately for Disney, over the course of the last 6 months to a year, it has not been good. They went from back in February where he said, I'm going to back off. I guess we'll see what Bob Iger does. They were up at $110 per share. Now they just recently came off one of their lowest points in a decade for their stock. And now Nelson Peltz has said, hey, I am back, and I think Bob Iger has a big problem on his hands, and we need to fix it. Nelson Peltz has bought up millions of shares of Disney stock, 30 million shares to be exact, valued at approximately $2.5 billion at this point. And not only is he asking for multiple seats on the Disney board, but he's essentially going to be demanding that things change. He's going to have a list of things. This is how I think this company can be saved. And in all likelihood, if he doesn't get those board seats that he was kind of inquiring about all the way back in January and February, he's probably going to go directly to shareholders and say, hey, I think I have fixes for Disney. I think I have ways they can improve. And if you want to see these changes made, then maybe you should vote with us. This is more horrific news for Bob Iger and the people that have ran Disney into the ground. But ultimately, it could actually be a good thing, something to hold them accountable and something to make them change their ways and realize that they have to get back to doing business like they used to, instead of pandering only to the fringe group of weirdos out there. Billionaire Nelson Peltz, let's go up to the headline, billionaire Nelson Peltz renews push for seats on Disney board as stock slumps. Billionaire investor Nelson Peltz is planning a fresh push to grab seats on the Walt Disney board as shares of the company have slumped since he locked horns with CEO Bob Iger in the spring, according to reports. The 81-year-old Peltz has built up his stake in the company to more than 30 million shares from 6.4 million earlier this year, priming his Tryon Fund Management to request multiple board seats, including one for himself. Now, obviously, you see it on the board. That does allow you to propose and potentially make some changes to how a company does business. And he's been adamant about this for almost a year. He said, well, wait and see. Bob Iger said he was going to restructure things. Since that time, the stock has continued to fall and fall and fall. And now apparently he thinks it's time to strike. In January, Peltz blamed Disney's stock slump on its board and signaled interest in a board seat. Peltz, who's worth $1.5 billion and often presents himself as a partner with constructive advice, did not reportedly support bringing Iger out of retirement. He also pushed for operational changes and cost cuts at the media giant, as well as a board seat. Disney snubbed his request, saying Peltz does not understand Disney's business. Peltz then launched a proxy battle against the company. Now, it didn't seem like he controlled nearly enough stock or really had the momentum to be able to do something like that, especially when the stock's on the rebound. But when the stock's on the decline, people are demanding changes. People are already upset at Bob Iger. People want somebody to come in and fix things. Now, whether that means Bob Iger being forced to listen to Nelson Peltz and his constructive advice or whatever he wants to call it, or whether things get bad enough and you think you might have enough shareholders to make a complete and total change when it comes to the CEO of Disney, a lot of those things might remain to be seen. But one thing is for sure, now Nelson Peltz's group is one of the biggest investors in Disney. We're talking top 5, top 6 in terms of management. Not at the level of something like BlackRock or Vanguard or whatever yet, but certainly a significant amount. And a lot of other Disney investors have not been happy. Why would you? When you're at the low point in a decade, when you've lost billions of dollars as a company, when you lost billions in the market share, of course investors aren't happy. And now it looks like Bob Iger is going to have another big battle to fight. He doesn't want this to happen. He doesn't want anyone to impede him. He doesn't want anybody second guessing him. He doesn't want to do these things. They want to continue the agenda that they've laid forth. But unfortunately, he might not be allowed to do that. This is going to be very interesting to see what happens going forward. Nelson Peltz's position is so much stronger than what it was just, 8 months ago. A healthy company, this isn't even a problem. It's not even a consideration because no one would think that anyone would listen to somebody like this. But when you're a company that's struggling like Disney in every aspect of your business, when you are a failing brand and a failing company, and someone with this amount of influence, with this track record of saving different companies comes along and has some pretty practical advice to fix your business, Bob Iger should be very worried about the future. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.